Module Overview. This emotionally sensitive module delves into one of the most profound and delicate aspects of family life: navigating communication during terminal illness, anticipatory grief, active dying, and eventual loss. Families confronted with the reality of a terminal diagnosis are not only forced to manage logistics and medical decisions, but also to process an overwhelming array of emotions, existential fears, spiritual questions, regrets, unspoken words, and relational tensions. This module provides you with the skills, sensitivity, and frameworks to guide, support, and communicate effectively with individuals and families during end-of-life care, hospice engagement, and bereavement. Grounded in empathy, cultural humility, and trauma-informed practices, the course explores how to foster meaningful connections, facilitate emotional closure, support legacy-building conversations, and manage silence, tears, and grief conversations without fear or avoidance. Understanding terminal illness communication. Definitions: terminal, palliative, hospice, DNR, do not resuscitate, etc. Psychological phases: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. What to say when a terminal diagnosis is received. Anticipatory grief and emotional turbulence. Grief before death. What it looks like and how it affects families. Emotional regression, emotional numbness, hyperactivity, or spiritual seeking. How anticipatory grief impacts communication tone, timing, and clarity. End-of-life conversations. How to talk about death without saying death. Scripts. What do you want us to remember about you? Phrases that bring comfort versus words that may hurt unintentionally, allowing silence as a valid form of communication. Cultural, religious, and spiritual sensitivities. Death rituals across cultures, respecting beliefs around suffering, resurrection, karma, or ancestral return. Avoiding projection of one's beliefs on grieving families. Spiritual presence and communication in silence or sacred acts. Children, teens, and vulnerable adults in loss. Explaining death to a child. Age-appropriate metaphors and tools. Adolescent grief, anger, defiance, withdrawal, creativity. Supporting caregivers of nonverbal or cognitively impaired patients. Legacy building and emotional closure. The importance of unfinished conversations. Writing goodbye letters, gratitude messages, recording voice notes, creating memory boxes or digital legacy tools. Role of caregivers in facilitating legacy conversations. Bereavement communication and support. What to say after the loss. Words that help. I'm here. I remember. Take your time. Holding space for grief instead of rushing healing. Referral to grief counselors, religious leaders, support groups. Learning outcomes. By the end of this module, you will be able to recognize and appropriately respond to the emotional and communicative needs of individuals facing terminal illness. Facilitate legacy building and end-of-life communication between patients and their loved ones. Apply age-appropriate, culturally sensitive strategies to explain and discuss death and dying. Demonstrate trauma-informed and ethically sound communication in times of grief and bereavement. Offer post-loss communication that supports the bereaved with compassion, silence, and presence.